Humans have between 60,000 to 100,000 thoughts a day. So they live in the matrix of their intellect.
Like inside of them, there was voices.
We see the world as we are. We don't see the world as it is.
They need to learn to slow down their minds.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Isha Judd podcast. Today we have a very special subject which Elizabeth chose herself. So if you enjoy these podcasts, don't forget to push like and to subscribe. Hi Elizabeth, I love the topic of your podcast today. Why don't humans perceive themselves as whole?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. And thank you for complimenting my topic. I think it's very important to praise each other because when we praise each other, the love always grows. So, Isha, I need to discuss something with you. It's something very clear for me that I'm not understanding. Today, I was near many humans. Some were smiling, some were talking a lot, some, of course, were looking at their phones, but inside, they didn't feel loose. They felt tight in the chest, like holding their breaths without even knowing. And I feel the same thing in many of them. Kind of almost okay, but not really okay. When a dog can't find a place to lie down, they tend to turn in circles. And this is how I perceive the humans' minds. Like inside of them, there was voices. Not outside voices, but inside voices. And you know that I have the capacity to listen to the voices inside the humans' heads. To tell you the truth, I try not to, but I decided to listen today because it was very, very loud. Some were saying, I should be further in my life. Some were saying, I'm late. Others were thinking, I'm not good at this. I should be different. I should be more. They were walking, talking, laughing, but inside they were trying to change themselves or chasing something to make them be different. Why do humans run inside when they are standing still outside? But there's one thing I want to tell you, Isha, that I noticed, and I think that this is a very, very important part. When I'm close to babies, babies don't try to be better babies. They just live in the moment. They giggle, they cry, they laugh, they get angry. When does the trouble begin, Isha? When do humans start to believe that they're not perfect exactly as they are?
You're right, Betchie. Humans never believe they're perfect exactly as they are. And the truth is, they are perfect. They're perfectly human. So how does this start? How does this begin? When do we lose that innate perfection internally and we start to want to change ourselves and we start looking for all the approval externally? You said one thing that was absolutely correct. When we're born as babies, we live totally in the moment. We're innocent. We feel all our feelings up until the age of around 4 years old, enjoying our lives in joy. Sometimes we have temper tantrums, sometimes we cry, but these things don't matter. It's part of being a human. And then something happens that creates fear in us. And when we create fear, we start to look externally for love. We lose that internal freedom. We lose our internal connection with our own divinity. When I talk about divinity, I'm talking about our internal connection of love consciousness, that peace and joy and present moment awareness. And things start to transpire in our lives that change how we're being. It's as if initially we're looking through this completely crystal clear window, but as time goes by and things happen, we start to perceive differently. Firstly, we start to perceive there's something wrong with us. We're not doing it well enough. We're not clever enough. We're not beautiful enough. We're not fast enough. We're not many things. And we start to compare ourselves to our brothers and sisters, to the people at school. The teachers at school tell us things. And bit by bit, our window of perception starts to change, and we can't see, firstly, our own internal perfection, and secondly, we can't see the world clearly. The truth is, we see the world as we are. We don't see the world as it is. Because we have so much fear of not being good enough, we have like a dictator in our head that's always criticizing and changing, so that we are constantly on guard, constantly in a place of stress, and constantly worrying about what other people think. And it's true, children don't do that. Children are free. And it's true, animals don't do that. Animals are free. But humans, adult humans, do not have that freedom.
Yeah, I sort of understand all that. It's like what you teach us. You say that if there's a judgment inside, there's a judgment outside. And you also say if someone says something rude to you, you need to say where you're saying that to yourself. You always teach us that. You say everything on some level is a reflection. But the thing I don't understand with the humans is that feelings pass, and yet humans love to hold on to the feelings. And not only do they hold on to them, they judge them. And they can be a little bit sad. And instead of just being a little bit sad, they make it into a big deal, like they're very depressed, or their lives are horrible, or there's something wrong with them or with the world. Why are they so severe all the time? Why can't they see that their emotions are like the weather? When it rains, we give gratitude because the grass turns green. When it's cold and everything dies, we don't cry about it because we know there's going to be a grand rebirth in the springtime. There's always a time where everything's resting, and yet then it starts to grow again. So, why do humans judge the storm? If there's a storm, it means it's cleaning the environment, it's getting rid of all the rubbish. And it's the same storm that humans experience internally. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes there's a storm, sometimes the sun's shining. It's like they're little boats out on the ocean, and the humans don't have any anchor. We animals, we just adjust. We just adjust to anything that's happening. We adjust to the weather. We adjust. But humans, they don't seem to be able to adjust. They don't like silence. They're always reaching for the noise, and they're afraid. But I've heard you speaking about something, Isha. I've heard you speaking about unification. What's that about?
Firstly, I want to explain something to you. I think there's something that you need to know that's quite important. Humans have between 60,000 to 100,000 thoughts a day. So they live in the matrix of their intellect.
Wow, that's a lot of thoughts. Whose job is it to count them all?
In the matrix of the intellect, Betchie, they start to create their own world, and their world is created through their perceptions. Now, you ask me why they can't let go of anything. And the reason is that everything that transpires in a human's life is not only recorded in their memory, it's recorded in their bodies. Their bodies become dense, they're full of stress, they have toxins from old illnesses, sometimes they have breakages, all sorts of things happen to humans, and it starts to break down their electric circuits. So that very high vibration we have when we are children is no longer there. When I talk about unification, I'm talking about unifying the mind with the heart. But what is it that carries the vibration of the human? It's the body. So we have to define something that can eliminate all of that trauma, all of those fears, all of those stuck emotions we've accumulated throughout our lives, so we can carry a higher vibration. And this is what unification is for. We go very deep inside and we start to liberate everything that vibrates in a low frequency. And as that starts to leave, we start to see the things in our lives that hold us in negativity, because it's that negativity and that density that's creating our perception. When we don't trust, where we're not open to love, where we don't believe in ourselves, where we think we don't deserve, where we think we're not good enough, all of these things that stop us from being the best of who we truly are. But not only that, when we have such extreme internal density, we live in our head. And what is it that's special about the head? The head lives in duality, good, bad, right, wrong, and all of those perceptions are very much an individual experience. When we start to unify with our hearts, we start to live in the moment and we stop judging the outside because we're loving ourselves. And when we stop judging the outside, we start to experience peace. The intellect doesn't have to work so hard to categorize and box everything. It starts to perceive through a place of innocence, like a child, or like you, Betchie, when you're just watching and learning, but without judgment. And when you live without judgment and you've released the judgment within yourself, you stop judging the outside. You just see consciousness in evolution. Everyone's evolving. Everything's evolving. And the higher your vibration, the more joy, the more peace, and the more present moment awareness you enjoy. And in a modern busy life, it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, you can keep enjoying this peace when you learn to unify with yourself. So you imagine if you can move through a chaotic situation but have internal peace, if you can be in a volatile situation and have internal peace, if you can receive judgments and those judgments are like the wind through your hair and they're not touching you on a profound level because you have so many judgments with yourself, imagine the type of freedom you enjoy. And this is the gift of unification.
Isha, you say that humans are whole, but they forget. So I keep watching and listening and feeling. I want to tell you what I notice. Maybe it helps you to remember. I'm only a dog. I don't try to improve myself. I don't wake up thinking how to be a better dog. I just wake up and I'm Betchie again. Sometimes I sit near humans and I feel their hearts beating. fast even when they're still. The humans, they need to learn to slow down their minds, because when they slow down their minds, every part of their organisms becomes still. Their bodies are still here, but they're not running somewhere else. Is that unifying? You say that unifying is when the head and heart work together instead of pulling apart, when thinking and feeling are not fighting. Then, does love unify? Is love unify? Love is what allows the mind to soften and the heart to stay open at the same time. I keep wondering about that. If love unifies, then when humans are hard on themselves, are they dividing inside? When they say, this part of me is bad, does that push one part outside the door? I remember you saying, Isha, that unifying means not to reject anything internal, not to judge anything internal, just to see it as part of our evolution. And that which doesn't serve, we just need to let it go. But with love. And another thing you taught me was it's our responsibility to love ourselves. No one else can love us unconditionally. We need to love ourselves unconditionally. Not that we have to like ourselves, but we have to love ourselves. And the things we don't like, we're going to change. Is that correct? Did I hear you clearly, Isha?
You heard me perfectly, Betchie. You always seem to understand me perfectly. I always see you when I'm giving the talks in the center. You're sitting there listening so attentively. It's true, sometimes you fall asleep, but most of the time you're listening. It's so important for humans to be loving with themselves. If you imagine when you're teaching a child to walk and it falls down, you don't scream at the child, you don't become angry with the child, you just encourage the child, you stand them up again, and you keep helping them to walk. And this is how humans need to be with their own growth. Their growth needs to be a place of adventure, a place where they're making self-discovery, a place that they're touching in areas that are unknown, only to enhance their life experience and to enhance their experience of love consciousness. Once we come back to our natural way of being, which is to live in love consciousness, we can have a busy modern life, but we never lose ourselves. We never abandon ourselves. And that's the most precious gift we can give to ourselves and to the world. Because people that have that experience naturally give to the world. It's like they're like children with a secret. They want to teach other people how to be free. That's the nature of humanity when it's anchored in love. But when it's not anchored in love, it wants to grasp, it wants to control, it wants to take. It doesn't care about the outside. All it cares about is its own internal fears. So yes, to unify is the most important we can do. The most important thing, to unify with ourselves.
I want to mention one more thing that I noticed that humans do. They compare themselves. One looks at another and suddenly they feel small. Dogs don't compare. We just are. We can have a Great Dane or a Chihuahua, and they both equally have as much to say to each other. We can have a beautiful Afghan going to the show with all their hair blonde and groomed, or we can have a scruffy street dog, but we don't think that one's better than the other. We just think they are how they are. Why do humans not see that? That it doesn't matter. It's how they are is absolutely perfect. We dogs understand that. We don't compare. We don't judge. We don't even feel that there's something wrong with our friends. We just love them. If they annoy us, we growl and bite them, but then we become friends again. Like, we don't hold on to grudges. Well, maybe we hold on to our bones, but apart from that, we're very open all the time. Why can't humans be like that? Why can't they see that everyone's different, but everyone's perfect? Because I know that's the truth. And you say, Isha, our only responsibility is to be the best of who we are. And that's what we're here to give the best of who we are. No matter how we look, no matter what we've done, or no matter where we've come from. I remember when I lost my eye, you said, Betchie, you're still the most beautiful girl in the world. And I could see that very clearly, even through my one eye.
That's right, Betchie. You are the most beautiful girl in the world, and you're certainly the greatest friend anyone could possibly have. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us. And remember, Betchie, you've got to come back next week because you're permanent. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week in the 5th podcast. And of course, Betchy will be joining us as well. If you enjoyed this, don't forget, push like and subscribe. I'm Isha Judd.
And I'm Betchie.